Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, welcome to the Alfie Brown Show. This is episode, it could be 5. Could be number 5. It's early to have forgotten where we are, but that's the kind of mood I'm in. I start my Soho Theatre shows tomorrow. My run at the Soho Theatre will extend from the 8th of November, which is, as at the time of recording, tomorrow, at the time of listening, at the very least today, and if not, as far into the future as the sort of internet structure maintains itself and podcasts are still listenable. So that's happening all next week, and I'm excited about it. I'm nervous about it. I feel optimistic, but terrified, which I think is before battle. You yawn a lot, apparently, before battle. Before you go into battle, you yawn. Did you know that? When you see sprinters or boxers or whoever, before they have a fight or run fast, respectively, they'll be yawning a lot because your body knows that it's about to go through this endurance test, and therefore will try and conserve as much energy as it possibly can, and therefore you yawn more than you otherwise would. And I yawn more than I otherwise would in the days leading up to what this is going to be, and this is going to be a weeks-long run at the Soho Theatre, well, Monday to Saturday. And as excited as I am, and as keen as I am to do well, and make sure everybody who comes has a nice time, I also feel the kind of quite violent spirit of a forthcoming fight. Something to be conquered, or at least some energy that I need to get out of myself. Important to think about these things as if you want to get the best out of yourself, I think. And I do. Before battle, we have a yawn. Also, my ability to, when I'm preparing for a show, focus on anything else. My bedroom has become a midden, a sort of sty of shit. The bedroom that I'm in, or the studio that I'm recording, this is bits of wrappers for energy bars and old cans of kombucha. Do you guys have kombucha here? Do you guys have kombucha? You don't have kombucha? No, I'm not thirsty then. There's an old teaspoon from a green tea, and that hairband was stuck to it. There's shit everywhere. Screws, and there's a plate of broken glass right next to me. A big plate of broken glass. Oh no, Jessie's taking it downstairs. That's good of her, isn't it? Jessie. I revert to being this useless, disgusting, stinking teenager because all of my brain, we've just found the top of a bag of walnuts, all of my brain is focusing on what's about to happen. And I'm not saying this good for me, what an artist. I'm saying what a brat, or what a useless and dysfunctional human being I am, that I can't maintain the day-to-day duties. The most perfunctory upkeep of myself cannot be performed if I've got to think about doing a show. Thus, such is my monomaniacal drive towards doing it well. And what if it's shit? All of this will have just been for nothing. All of this strenuous lethargy, all of this single-mindedness, just purely driven towards something that ended up being crap. How could I even survive after that? I forget to make my bed. I think it's quite important to make your bed. Make your bed. I think it's quite important to make your bed. just sets the day up well. I'm very big on being woken up in the right way. Like, if there have been some days where one of my children will have woken me up in a particularly unpleasant way, throughout the recent history, those will have involved slapping me in the face. I've also had, and in the morning, you haven't quite allowed your adult's brain to switch on yet. So when one of your children will interfere with you in such a way, you haven't quite learned or like remembered, or you're being awake, not long enough. It hasn't really given you the context for being alive or where you are. The worst one was my I just remember this scratching sound at my ear. And then my son whispering into my ear, "Daddy, I need a poo." And I just remember thinking, you can't start my day like this. This is pre the days of them being able to wipe their own, him being able to wipe his own arse. I need a poo. So the first thing you've got to do is deal with somebody shitting. And it's just not... How can you be expected to make your bed after that? No need to make your bed after you just wipe somebody's arse with the first moments of that day as this thing that, a clean slate of new opportunities. And then the first thing that life has presented to you is a poo. It's not even yours. So you've got to... And also, as your child gets older, and just before you stop wiping your child's ass, that's too old that you don't think about it. Like when your baby does a shit, you just think, well, the baby is shat and I need to deal with the shit. It's not really like you're not grappling with the idea of it as a shit. The fact that it's come out of your child is sort of second nature to you. Well, it was going to come out. How could it possibly not? It's been in the nappy. It's had a good run. Now it's time for me to do my bit. Also, the nappy element of that gives you some sort of illusion of choice. Like, well, yes, there is a shit, but I think, it's not urgent. I can still decide when that gets dealt with within reason. Whereas with the being woken into a new day, into a new realm of opportunities, into a new life. Each day is its own, and this one starts as it means to go on with you dealing with a shit. And that's the point, is it's not acute shit, and you have to realize, you have to reckon with this shit in a way that you don't a baby's shit, I think that's my point. So anyway, I'm very big on waking up in the right way. So I always make my bed, unless I've had to deal with somebody's shit, or if I'm about to do a show. Those are the two occasions in which I will let myself off that. How are you guys doing? How's your weeks been? I hope they've been really well. I hope you had a nice fireworks night, and that you went to go and see lots of fireworks. Lots of people don't like fireworks because they think, they're bad for weak people and animals. But I don't care about either of those two types of things. So go for it. If you like fireworks, then you should go and enjoy them. But just not too late. And they only go on a little bit. I mean, my mum has a dog, and the dog doesn't like fireworks. But then I sort of feel like the humans who do like fireworks are more important than my mum's dog. Can't you just get a little sort of ear scarf for a doggy ear scarf, or something? I don't know. Lots of people don't like them, and I'm being facetious. Maybe I don't know whether to give a shit about it or not. But there we are. They used to make me weep, howl, cry. I used to be terrified of fireworks. I used to actively avoid going to fireworks because I was scared of... I think there was... do you remember those two kind of comic actors who used to do the adverts for Tunes, the cough suite? And they had a fireworks mishap, and one of them almost came a cropper. And I went, why bother then? The news was presented to me as if that was some sort of common occurrence. And I went, well, then let's not bother with fireworks. The risks are the risk reward is off kilter. I'm not getting in return what I believe we're risking here. So no. I don't want fireworks. Thank you very much indeed. What else has been happening? The COP26. I've never ever heard any of the other ones referred to as 1, 2, 3, 4 or up to 25. I've heard these events, the UN sort of climate meetings, referred to as things like the Kyoto Agreement and the Paris Accords. The Kyoto one was an agreement, and then they decided to accord in Paris. They accorded with each other. Whether they agreed or not, they accorded. But in Kyoto, they really agreed with each other, and it was a much better time. So I don't know what they're going to do in Glasgow. Just fucking nod. Just have a wee nod and go, aye, the Glasgow, that's what it'll be. That'll be the Glasgow aye. We're going to fix climate change or what? Yeah? Are we going to you got to stop burning your shite, don't you? Stop burning all that shite. Are you Chinese? Stop burning all your fucking shite. You've got a lovely wee forest there, by the way. Don't deforest it. Don't it means cutting it down, doesn't it? Well, because, like, there was a forest there, and now there ain't. So it's like deforesting. Yeah, I suppose not. Like, if you've got, like, a field, you don't. It's just, like, London was built on a thing, or Glasgow, so it's not I don't know why it's called deforestation, but you don't do it because there's loads of trees in there that help us all breathe, so you've got to keep them. And do you know what else you want to do? You've got to keep like you're got to be climate. Just fucking sort it out by a date. Pick a date, and you've got to be, like, neutral by that date. And that way we'll all be happy. Not 2070, you bastard, eh? This is the Glasgow aye. We all say aye. And Greta Thunberg has... I mentioned Greta Thunberg briefly in my last podcast, in the last episode, if you listened to that. And then I got a few messages about the way in which I'd mentioned her. And I'd like to double down on that, really. And I think I'd like to say, you need to stop telling me to listen to Greta Thunberg. You need to stop telling me to listen to Greta Thunberg, okay? Or I can take the piss out of her for being, like, rubbish and whatnot. But you can't tell me to listen to her with the same reverence and, like, respect that I would give to a climate scientist, and at the same time, when I take the piss out of her, go, well, she is a child. She is a child, actually. Well, yes, I know. So let's not listen to her. If we agree that she is not a robust enough and weighty enough character to have the piss taken out of her, then we can also agree that she's not a robust and weighty enough character to be listened to. Because she's not said anything interesting. She's not said anything interesting or good. They are bad people and they are ruining our lives. What do you mean? There's been loads of they have not done anything. It is a PR. You have to say that. You're in too deep. Greta Thunberg's in too deep, and she can't now go, do you know what? Fair play, actually. Like, she can't say, actually, that was good. I liked that. When these old white men, to be fair, they pulled it out the bag that time. Where am I from? She likes her own celebrity too much. She enjoys it. You can tell she's gotten like used to it a little bit, and she's, I suppose I am quite important. Like, it's all just nonsense. It's all just that sort of empty, fatuous protest platitudes. They don't care. True change will not be made by politicians all sitting in a room. It will. That's where so much change happens. It's just where all change happens, isn't it? Like, that's their job. They govern. They're the government. That's what, you might not like it, and they might not be doing enough, and they might be a bit rubbish, but you're not saying anything. But she's a child. Why should she be then? Yes, exactly. So she doesn't know anything, so let's not listen to her anymore. Take the microphone away. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot say, listen to her, but she's talking shit. Oh, but she's just a child. Well, which one is it? Which one of those things is it? I'm happy to be really nice to her. Like, she's completely within her rights to be saying all of this nonsense shit. She's a child, as you said, but there's no reason why there should be a microphone there. Why is she on the front page of the BBC news website? Shh. You know? Just shush. It's rubbish. It's like the whole world's gone mad. Listen. You know, it's a child and she's talking about politics. Isn't it amazing? No, it's completely what I would expect a child to be saying about politics. Absolutely. She was always going to say exactly what she said. They could have reversed climate change while they were there. Well, they did not smile very much while they were reversing climate change. It's not in her interest to say well done. Because that would mean that she no longer has a purpose. And her main interest is the purpose of her, not the actual climate. This isn't a conscious thing. This is just where her brain's ended up. It's fine. Everybody works like that. But stop telling me to listen to her. It's like if there was like a magic talking billy goat. And then everybody goes, you've got to listen to this magic talking billy goat. It's incredible. I think it's going to save us all. This magic talking billy goat. You got to listen. And then somebody puts a microphone in front of the magic billy goat, and the magic talking billy goat says, fish bits, window pane, tangerine Tuesdays are good, wiggle, shine for yesterday. And then somebody goes, hang on, that was rubbish. Why were we listening to that? That was just a lot of nonsense. That didn't make any sense. Well, yeah. It is a billy goat. Great. Well, then all it's impressive, good. But that's not, let's not live by it. And then Obama's got to meet the billy goat and go, thank you, billy goat, thank you for being a billy goat that can speak. It's really interesting. I've got to fucking meet the billy goat now. Jesus Christ. I've got things to do. I know more than you, billy goat, about everything you just mentioned. You're a billy goat, which is fine. There's no need for you to be anything else, but I'm not interested in what you have to say. I'm interested in the fact that you can speak, and I admire the fact that you have a good grasp of language. But no, I really don't want to listen to you, or at least I'm not going to write anything you say down. It's impressive that you're saying it, but I'm not going to remember what it was. But I am angry and need to maintain this anger to an extent that I can still dance with Jason Derulo at next year's MTV Awards. I don't like it. I don't think I hid my feelings well about that either. Anyway, I mean, who am I? Maybe I'm totally wrong about that. I don't think I am, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. I mean, I suppose the counter argument would be that the fact that she's young helps us deal. she's an emblem of the victim of the crime, basically, the crime of climate change. And she, as a young activist, is a sort of key victim of it, if you like, because she's, as a young person, going to have more years stolen from her than me. So I don't matter quite as much, not accounting for acts of God and whatnot. And what do I know? I've just been watching Friends. Do I really know what I'm talking about? I mean, and I just don't... Me and Jessie, while we were having dinner, were watching Friends. And it's completely brilliant. But also, it's like a cartoon. You're watching a cartoon. The one where Rachel and Phoebe run weird. The one where Phoebe runs. And you just don't get sitcoms like that anymore because, and I think Armando Iannucci said something quite interesting in the paper the other day about how sitcoms like that exist less and less because life is so weird that as soon as something is kind of plainly berserk or plainly kind of ridiculous, we are, and I think actually it probably has to do with the uprising in things like podcast media. You're getting quite a real and honest and exposed version of what I am. Given the nature of what this is, essentially it's me improvising a podcast based on various themes that I've got written down there. So the fact that I'm having to improvise it exposes me because I don't have, given the fact that I'm trying to make it good, I don't really have time to factor in any sort of construction of artifice or anything like that. And I think with vloggers, the whole thing is, you are getting, we want who you are. We want to feel the human connection in a world that is ever expanding, and human beings thrive in communities that are very small. We don't really like very many people around us. That's what we find so discombobulating about modern societies. We are a necessarily narcissistic, community-led people that don't like too many other people around us. It's why we kind of go berserk. And like people, that's why people get so angry in London. Oh my God, so many people. I am meaningless. I am absolutely fucking meaningless, and I cannot believe that I'm not more. That's why we have to be narcissistic in groups. We become our narcissism and our self-love comes in the form of righteousness, and righteousness is sort of shared. We've teamified morality so that we can be narcissistic in large groups. And that means we crave, because of course, like group morality and righteousness that's shared in groups involves so much artifice, we crave people who can be honest or completely remove themselves from that, which is why so much comedy is rooted in drama now, because we need the emotional anchoring of drama to carry the humour forward. And in Friends, I don't think you'd get that to quite such an extent. We feel so disconnected now that a show which is sort of disconnected from reality in itself, we don't want. Well, yeah, we know what disconnection's like. Something to think about. I was lucky enough to be on Sarah Pascoe's wonderful panel show Guessable on Thursday. I was on a recording of it. Really incredible fun. It's going to be on Comedy Central in a number of days, weeks, or months, or a combination of all of those sort of different bits of time. And it's the first ever panel show I've done, except for Katie Hopkins Rules the World. which I did do. And many people, when I tell them that, suggest to me that perhaps I should feel ashamed of myself for having appeared on a bad dickheads TV program. But I disagree. I mean, I did ask specifically to be on that program, to be fair. As soon as I found out it was happening, rang up my agent at the time, not my current agent, and said, I'd like to be on that program, please. Because I had a sense of sort of anarchic self-destruction. And also, as somebody who never got booked for panel shows, I thought it would be amusing if that was the only one I'd ever been on. And also, this was like, well, I thought I could disrupt what it was, by being on it in a disruptive sense, which I didn't end up really being to any great extent. I haven't watched it back, but I imagine the edit dealt with me pretty well. And the other one was by giving my fee to a malaria net charity. So saving the lives of foreign children with the fee from her program, I thought would be a funny thing. And it's actually a funny idea that Bobby Mayer had, brilliant comedian Bobby Mayer had, with slightly more clarity, and he did it before my episode came out. So, yeah, and I was told I wasn't allowed to anyway. I was at risk of being sued. Not something that concerned Bobby. Credit to him. He just did it anyway. And I suppose it doesn't really matter, does it? I mean, nobody fucking watched it. But also, I wasn't really thinking about it in terms of it being a panel show that I wanted to do well on. I just couldn't really believe it was happening, and I sort of took it all in. Also, side note, Katie Hopkins is one of the most charming people I've ever met. It's completely bizarre. It's perturbing. It's spooky almost. She sat me down and went, "So you're a comedian? No blinking. No removal of eye contact. So you're a comedian?" "Yeah, I'm a comedian." "Wow, that's such a brilliant thing to do. That's so incredibly brave and interesting. You must be thinking all the time. You must have such a wonderful mind." "Oh, thank you. Yeah. No, not really. I mean, you just have a very natural and interesting and excellent way of speaking." "Oh, thank you, Katie, thank you." Just compliment after compliment, question after question, eye contact after eye contact, smile after smile. She wanted to know who I was. She really cared. And then I met her at the record. "Samantha, this is Alfie." "Alfie, hi Alfie, how's it going?" Oh God, Alfie just needs to stand there and it starts making me laugh. So funny. I'm so excited about tonight's episode. I think you're going to be brilliant, Alfie. Thanks, Katie. As soon as they wrapped on the record, she never spoke to me again. She didn't even look at me as she left the room. It was so funny. It was obviously like, it's this psychopathic willingness just to, or not willingness, but desire to have you like her, to trust her, to be liked. Well, I'm going to charm the cock off of you so that when it comes time to shooting, you're sort of, even if you don't want to be enamored to me to the extent that you probably won't mention sinking migrant boats or anything, any number of the awful things that I've said. And it sort of works. It's intoxicating. I felt like a fool afterwards for having fallen prey to it, but then I think probably a lot of people would. Anyway, this, on Thursday, Guessable was not that. This was my first comedy panel show that wasn't anything to be ashamed of. So congratulations to me. And it's so interesting. I don't know how many of you listeners watch panel shows. I mean, even do you know what's interesting about this podcast? I've got 24 listeners in Virginia. So if you're one of my 24 listeners in Virginia, then send me a message, because I'd love to know how. And that's quite a lot. Like the podcast is doing quite well in the UK. Nobody's really listening to it in the States, which is fine. That's kind of what you'd expect, not having any profile over there. But for some reason, there are 24 people in Virginia, which is quite a lot more than any other state in the United States. I'm I'd like to know why you're doing this. I'm grateful, very grateful for the listening, but I'd love to know why, because it doesn't really seem to make any sense to me. Also, I'm not sure whether not the algorithm, but the analytics services maybe Washington DC is a part of Virginia, perhaps, given that it's not in any sort of state, as it were. Who knows? But I'd love to hear from you. The hardest thing, a panel show, a host, 3 comedians on one side, 3 comedians on the other side. There's sort of nominal attempts made to play various games. Some shows the games are more important than others. This one is actually kind of quite a big part of it, and it has a kind of a larger thing that everything works towards that you try and guess at the end. There's a mystery person that all of the previous answers have led you towards, and if you guess the person in the mystery box, you win the game. Not that it's really important. What you'd really like to be is be funny, but still, people's competitive attitude does get the better of them, and they can become pretty full on. I've always thought, like, what the best people on panel shows are the people who know their character and manage to make their character work. And it can't be the same as your character as a stand-up. It has to be something slightly different. You have to find a way to make a comedy persona work in the context of any given show that you're doing. It's a really bad look to turn up to a show like that and not get involved. And this is advice that I've had, like, it always looks awful when you're the one who can't be arsed with it. Like, the one who thinks they're better than the program ironically ends up looking like the biggest loser. So that was, I don't think that's not how I'd have approached it anyway. But trying to get to grips with that character and work out what it would be is an interesting thing to have to do. It was great fun. I look forward to it coming out. What have we got next? What are we going to talk about next? I've done all of that. Jesse and me had a fight. And this actually moves into one of the other things that somebody messaged me. I can't remember your name. I'm really sorry, mate. But you were asking me about my drinking, my booze, and asking whether or not I have a drinking problem, and whether or not or whether or not I have a kind of a good attitude towards it, and I can just take it or leave it, and it's not a problem. Sort of feels like it's not for me to say, but I think. Well, I was saying, I did a podcast recently. Chris Williamson, not the disgraced Labour MP, but charming man who does a podcast called Modern Wisdom, and talking about what constitutes too much drinking and what constitutes a healthy amount. And what I do probably constitutes too much drinking. But then on our, trajectory towards full-blown alcoholic, what do we really think is a drinking problem, and what do we think is a good time? Because you've got to square the balance between, like, that's what it was. Chris asked me about my fitness routine, and I went, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't have fitness goals. I don't have a fitness plan. I'm not doing a a program. I'm just trying to do more exercise so that I don't become fat and die. I'm just trying to do my knees a favor, trying to do my knees and my lungs and my heart all a very big favor by not growing too much to the extent that my arteries fill up with shit and my knees give way under the extraordinary weight of a newly developed gut. And I don't run out of breath halfway through fucking. It's not the 40-year-old man I have designs on being in 5 years' time. The sort of man I want to be in 6 years' time is a lithe, bombastic, charming 40-year-old louche. And this is the thing, and this is another thing I said, that all of my people who I most admire or think I'd like to be like them, or when I was a kid, not so much anymore, because I think, your designs on being other people evaporate with age, as you sort of, whether or not you necessarily like who you are that much, but you certainly resign yourself to who you are. And that, actually, there's a comfort in that, resigning yourself to who you are, whether or not you really like it. You go, well, that's me, and I don't really... And you become a lot more aware of the fact that what you see of people that you loved growing up, like Christopher Hitchens for me... Well, of course, if you watch compilations of his most brilliant and best moments, you're going to think he really is the most wonderfully impressive man you've ever seen. But you don't watch him, like, bore somebody at a house party. It must have fucking happened. Like, he must have written a couple of articles. He must have been sat at his typewriter and gone, oh, God, I'm too pissed to write right now. And it just must have happened. And also, he died far too young of cancers that were brought on by the lifestyle that he chose to live. He even said he burned the candle at both ends and it shone a bright light. And I kind of go, well, maybe that's like, what am I going to do with those extra 15 years? Maybe that, okay, I'm like, what am I going to do with the extra 15 years? What a fucking stupid thing to say. Watch your children grow up, have grandchildren, go on a fucking cruise, watch all the best films, read all the fucking books that are behind me that I've never read, buy more books, go on a walk, visit all the places that you never had time, go and see Crete and Peru and Morocco and Nairobi. What are you going to do with all that time? Fucking loads of stuff. And that's another part of the exposing thing of podcasting whilst you're coming up with it off the top of your head. You sometimes say stupid things. And I just caught myself in the middle of saying quite a stupid thing. There's loads of stuff that I'd love to do with those years of my life. So, but I also really want to have a gin and tonic and have a beer. And I like the taste of this, and wine and gin sours and a lovely martini that my father makes. A gin martini, dry with a twist. Thank you, Daddy. I also enjoy that. And as somebody, and here is getting down to the nub of the question, sir, who asked me the question, thank you very much. I have a banshee of an inner monologue. Lots of people do, some people don't. I have a screaming and constant inner monologue that is bludgeoning me about the head with all the different things that I might be saying, and second guessing all of the interactions that I have with people. And I feel incredibly encumbered by this inner monologue. And this is where I start thinking, yes, actually it sounds more and more like a drinking problem. When I drink, you can sort of exist in the moment more, as you drink enough to send this inner monologue to sleep, and you can exist presently and be more in the moment. And I love that. And especially now I'm feeling so tense about these shows. The inner monologue can gallop apace. I find, and this is the sad thing, that sometimes, one drink makes, writing a little bit easier, because it just calms everything down a little bit. I think George Carlin said the same thing about weed. writes sober and edits high? Or is it the other way around? Anyway, I was so nervous, and then Jessie was going, "Where the fuck are you?" And then I went, "Well, I'm just out and I'm about to do a gig." And then she went, "Well, could you come back and help?" And I went, "But I'm about to do a gig. There isn't time." And then I just didn't text back because I was like, I'm too stressed about everything. Should really have texted back, I guess. And then I got absolutely hammered. And it was fantastic. I had a wonderful night. And then Jessie blocked me. And then the next morning I had to unblock myself on her phone. And, made worse by the fact that I'm living in this urine-sank hellhole upstairs of my own creation. It's a lovely bedroom, but I have not kept it well, as I say, because I'm too tense about everything. Bags on beds. I put my backpack on my bed. Does that make you angry? It makes Jessie angry. It makes Jessie exceptionally angry that I put your bag's filthy. It's been all over London all day, and you're putting it on your bed, and all of the, I don't know what she's worried about. Dirt. What's the dirt going to do? I understand that the bag is dirty now, then the dirt gets onto the bed, but what, am I not going to if I woke up one morning, I've got syphilis because the bag was on my bed. That's not going to happen, is it? It's just a fucking bag on a fucking bed. What, the germs are going to make me explode or die or something? No. It's fine. I understand that there's germs. I just don't understand what they're going to do. What negative thing? How are these germs going to inhabit me to a sufficient level to negatively impact my life? Well, I don't think they will. So I think you need to leave me alone about the bag on the bed thing, mate. But you have your say in comment below, bags on beds. Tell us what you think. Or message me if you're listening to this on the app, which most of you are. On your apps, on your phones, on your podcast apps. Sometimes on Spotify. Hello, Spotify listeners. Yeah. And aside from that, what else is there to fill my days with, What else is there to do but look after these children, so many children, and sing George Ezra with them. Does George Ezra know that his key demographic is 7-year-olds? Does George Ezra know that that's who his fans are? 7-year-old children. At my kid's birthday party, they all knew the words. How does that make him feel? Does that make him feel good and nice? I think it should do in a way. Oh, good. There is a group of people who like me. I'm lucky to have this as my career. I'm doing what I love. I'm glad. Or does that make him, oh, my songs are at the academic level. The reading age for my songs is 7-year-old children. It's the same old. I think it's almost a skill to be able to have the confidence to be that simple. All the best jokes, points, quotes, all the most insightful things seem simple because simplicity resonates in a way that complex, arcane, or verbose things don't. Simplicity is key, can be beautiful. Simplicity is also fucking difficult. I just wouldn't have had the confidence to write a song with the same chord sequence all the way through. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, and have that be the sort of melodic like, I mean, what's going on? Silly old George Ezra. Nice guy, apparently. Met him once. Seems like a cool guy. You'd have to be if you had that many kids as fans. If you had that many kids as fans, you'd have to be skilled, like I wonder how patient he is with all of that. You've got to be better at doing photos and like signing autographs if your fan base is 7-year-old children than if you're 30-year-old like people. If you're, I don't know, Bert Jansch or whatever, your fan base, obviously, I don't know if is he dead? If your fan base is old people, then you don't have to be nice to them because they'll understand. But like you're not going to make anybody cry by turning down their request for a photograph or autograph. You don't. George Ezra, if he wants to just get on with his day and go, I can't, sorry. Anybody else that might, aggravate your average adult going, oh, that wasn't nice. I wanted to have my photo taken with Guy Garvey. But Guy Garvey isn't making children cry with his rejection of requests for photographs. So there's a lot less pressure on it. Maybe this is a kind of novel that needs writing, the plight of George Ezra, who becomes sort of demented by his own, by the nature of his fame, and sort of gets locked in this world where he's constantly answering. He doesn't like children, he doesn't want them. He's like Enid Blyton, this man who describes their world so brilliantly and vividly, but doesn't want to have anything to do with them, and becomes like riven with madness by his the necessity of his proximity to children. They love him, but he can't stand them. All he ever wanted to do was be taken seriously. He wanted to be Bert Jansch, but he couldn't help but write with this catchy optimism that chimed with the spirit of the young to such an extent that they followed him wherever he went. He's like the Pied Piper, but yeah, that's what the Pied Piper would have played on his flute. Come with me, children. Whoa. Yeah. And where's he going to take them? He's gonna. That's what he's gonna be doing. Down the South Bank, playing I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun. Whoa. All this line of kids following him into the Thames, where he engages in a suicide pact with his adoring children public. And he goes, I don't mind drowning as long as they drown too. Right. I didn't really know I was going to say any of that, but we are where we are, and that's what came out. Okay? It's too bright. I now think it's time to start winding up this podcast. The Greta Thunberg stuff at the beginning is something that I tried to say on stage twice this week. Took my camera out with me, set it up, plugged my Zoom H4n handy recorder into the sound desk. Nothing. Fucking nothing. From the crowd, I mean. Moody, miserable shits. You really want to get into them. Tear them fucking... How dare you? How fucking dare you be like this in my special fucking routine? Does it not fucking matter? I'm obviously doing a topical bit. My camera's just over there. I'm filming this. It's like these people don't have any interest in my going viral and creating a huge demand for tickets to come and see me. I will try this again. Don't think I've been put off. It's not the last time. It isn't the last time. Right. If you've made it this far into the podcast, I'd like to express my deepest gratitude to you. I'm on all forms of social media at Alfie Brown Comedian, and I'd really love it if you would message me about what you're enjoying about the podcast. Actually, I don't need that. What you're enjoying about the podcast. Great. I mean, I'd be happy to hear it, but don't feel like you need to tell me what you're enjoying about it. What I'd love to know is what you're not enjoying about it. Is it too slow? Is it too fast? Should it be more thematic? How does it sound to somebody listening to it? And is there, what puts you off about it and what turns you on? What is there to do more of? What is there to do less of? If you're watching on YouTube, then that's great. Please subscribe and comment underneath and like the video and do everything that helps the algorithm. That's what we're all doing. Although Jessie has told me to stop talking about the algorithm because it sounds desperate. I think it sounds funny. I think I'm talking about it in a roundabout. I think I'm displaying appropriate irony. I'm not speaking earnestly and honestly and pleading for you to engage with my honest anxieties about the algorithm. It's just it's a funny word, isn't it? And we're all trying to service the algorithm in some way or another. I don't know and I don't understand it. I've watched so many fucking videos on YouTube. So many charismatic 20-year-olds telling me how to grow your YouTube channel or what sort of thing you need to be doing. And do subscribe because there's more stuff coming out. I'm going to create big things, you know. I'm going to be a huge YouTuber. Huge YouTuber. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Alfie Brown Show for the 7th, or the 8th tomorrow. Well, it's first one in November, isn't it? It's the first one in November. Or I suppose, no. I mean, I'm always recording these the night before you hear them. Anyway, I'm just rambling at the end of the podcast now, so I don't know what you want from me, other than to fucking get on with it and fucking stop recording. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Alfie Brown Show. Like, subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend or two. Thank you very much for listening. And yeah, let me know what you're all thinking. I'd love to hear what people have been thinking about it. Thanks very much indeed. And if you're at the Soho Theatre and you listen to the podcast, please come and say hello and maybe tell me some of these things in person. Goodbye from Alfie Brown.